Yo, what's up, guys? Jacques Slade here, and welcome to Outside the Box. It is a new podcast. It's just a podcast about everything. Yes, we're going to talk about sneakers because that's probably why you know about this space. But more importantly, we're going to talk about other things. Talk about things outside, music, pop culture, life in general. We're going to give you advice about everything that you want advice about because we're a show for the people. I am Jacques Slade, but this show really wouldn't be what it is without the two fantastic hosts that I have. They're probably two of the coolest and smartest people that I know in their own respects. Starting off first, my big homie Nick Engvall. Tell him how to find you and all of that good stuff.
What's up, y'all? I'm Nick Engvall on all the platforms, NickEngvall, and I also have a site called sneakerhistory.com. And Tiffany, tell them who you are.
I'm Tiffany Beers. I used to work at Nike and innovation, and you might know me from the Nike Mag or the Hyper Adapt. You can find me on any of the social media platforms under Tiffany Beers.
I love that. Like, you know what, Nick? And I'm probably going to do this to you every episode, Tiffany. But I love how she just throws it out there. Yeah, I just worked on the Hyper Adapt and the Nike Mag. Like it's nothing. Oh, those things.
I'm just living a normal life, guys.
Yeah. I just did stuff at Nike, like the Nike Mag, probably the biggest shoe they've ever done, but I did that. And the Hyper Adapt, whatever. Coolest shoes ever made, but whatever. Anyway, all right, guys. So let's get into this. Big news story today is about New Balance, and apparently they had to pay a huge fine because of the whole made in the USA cover and label that they use when they release some footwear, but apparently it wasn't entirely true. Now, Tiffany, I'm going to kind of lean on you for this one because I'm hoping, and I just said that without knowing, that you have a little more insight to what exactly this means, the 70% versus the 95% and the materials and the domestic distribution, all of that stuff. Could you help, please?
Well, I think it comes down to, I think they ran into this in the auto industry several years back. Like, what can you actually say is made in the USA? Does it have to have 100% of the product and the assembly of the product made here? Or can it just be like 50%, or can it be 10%? So on one hand, I think it's all about protecting the brand of Made in the USA, because that carries a lot of importance to a lot of people. Now, right, with New Balance only had 70% versus 90%, like I was always curious, like, what percentage did you have to say Made in the USA? Could you just assemble the shoe, right? So could the upper and all the materials just come from Asia and then be put on the bottom here in the States, and that's considered Made in the USA? Like, is that a workaround for it? But I guess this kind of clarifies it, and I only know what the article there says, but they got hit pretty hard. Like, I'm curious to see now what shoes will say Made in the USA. Does this officially mean that they don't have any shoes made in the USA, or are they still going to have a line?
Yeah, I'm actually really curious about it too. And actually, once you sent that over earlier today, I started thinking about. I noticed at the Adidas Parley event that they just had that the new Parley, like, I don't think it's the Ultra Boost, it's the other Boost shoe, it actually says assembled in the USA on the Parley version, which I haven't seen on any other Adidas before. So I'm assuming that, like, that's probably, it's probably something similar, right? Where they're trying to say as much as they can here, but like that, I would assume that, like, the rubber treaded outsole and even the Boost is probably made someplace else, and then they're taking, what they can out of the plastic material from the recycled bottles and putting that into the upper here, and then putting it all together in the States.
Here, I like that Adidas actually put assembled in the US. That's cool. At least as a start.
Yeah, and so I've definitely seen that on New Balance shoes before too. I don't know, the rules or whatever, but I've definitely seen assembled in the USA on certain New Balance shoes too.
That's interesting. That's super interesting to me. See, from my perspective, and this is coming as and I guess this is where I would fall into the normal consumer sort of demo. When I hear "made in the USA," I assume that's what assembled means. I don't think I necessarily think that the materials are made here in the USA, but that the shoe or the product was made here in the USA. So maybe, and that's maybe more about my ignorance than it is the truth. Well, obviously, it's more about my ignorance than it is the truth. So, made in the USA literally means that the materials were made in the USA. Am I understanding that correctly?
I think in how you read this article, yes. I mean, that's what they're trying. I guess customs is the one that, or the government. Actually, this was a lawsuit, I think. So the judge was basically saying that, like, you made in the USA needs to mean a certain percentage of the materials are also manufactured here. Now, I guess that can be interpreted differently also, but I think that's what they're going for.
I think that so I think it happens. It happens a lot, though, right? I think that it's kind of always how marketing works, right? Like how much can we get away with saying without it being an actual lie? And like I just think of like brands like what's the watch brand that's from Detroit, that Shinola, which is not like like a lot of their watches weren't all fully made here. They were more assembled here. And I think that's just kind of the nature of people. Like, we want to glorify that people are doing things in the States. Like, all of us have that, like, kind of wishful thinking, and but I think it comes down to like, what is the actual line? Where's the line drawn? And I think this probably sets a standard that we haven't really paid much attention to before with shoes, at least.
Yeah. So it says here in the article, it says New Balance may continue to make qualified claims of domestic production as long as the 70% standard is mentioned explicitly in connection with the claim. So when I see domestic production, is assembled? Would you take that as being assembled? That 70% of the shoe is assembled here, but in order for it to say made in the USA, it needs to be 95%. I'm just confused here.
I think it includes where the materials come from. That's how I read it.
That's how I read it too.
Because so are your injection molding parts made here? Are your midsoles? Is your outsole made here? I mean, to be 95%, basically everything would have to be made here except maybe the shoelace. That's what you're looking at, right? It's basically the whole shoe being made here. I'd love to know more. Maybe we can research this and find out more of exactly what does that mean, because Adidas is doing that factory, and I don't know much about it.
The Speed
Factory. So how is it comparing?
Yeah, because that's in Atlanta, so I would imagine that would be. But again, if the pieces aren't made here, if they're just shipping in pieces from overseas and assembling it here, that maybe that's where that moniker that Nick mentioned earlier, assembled in the USA, that's where that comes from. That's just fascinating to me. I had no idea about these rules, and there was a set number in order to mean made in the USA. And 95% seems like a very high number for that, but I understand, they want to keep the cachet to that made in the USA sort of tagline. So that makes sense.
And I think it's one of those things where it's good too, right? Like, I mean, these are things that consumers, like, the three of us are pretty active in this business and have been for quite a while. And as consumers, that's always something that I think, your general consumer is going to be attracted to, that made in the USA. It's kind of good that there's some regulation there that says, hey, in order for you to say that, this is what the standard has to be.
Absolutely.
Oh, and in addition to,
well, I was just going to say, it just also, it opens the door slightly to the complexities of making and importing shoes, right? Like, a lot of people don't think about that. And you can't forget that now. I don't know how many pairs of New Balance you guys have. I have one, but if it says made in USA, you're going to get $10. So, cha-ching.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. Yeah, I was going to say, so for those of you out there that bought a pair of made in the USA New Balance, you get $10. Just search it. I would say I'm going to put a link in the description, but actually, we'll do that. We'll put a link in the description so you can get $10. We just charge a 50% commission. Got to pay for this show somehow, people. And going from made in the USA to something that's not made in the USA, Kanye West was in the news today, but not in the way that we normally expect. This would be a bit of a good thing, and I want to attack a couple of different topics with this one. So the news is that Kanye West and Adidas are going to increase Yeezy Boost production. I'm going to go with you, Nick. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think this is what Kanye, said years ago when he signed with Adidas and basically said everybody's going to be wearing Yeezys. I think his goal is to make something that's as mainstream as possible while still obviously putting money in his bank. And, there's a huge gap between, not huge, it used to be much bigger, but it's tightened up quite a bit in the last, year or two. But there used to be a huge gap between what the retail price was and the actual value of a pair of Yeezys, turned out to be, because people can, you can buy them for $200, you can turn around and sell them for $400 or $600 or $800 or even more sometimes. And I think that they see that there's plenty of room for them to kind of fill the market with these shoes and let everybody have a pair that wants them. And it's kind of interesting because, coming from, working on the secondary market the last couple of years, it's something that I've kind of had in the back of my mind is like, well, when, how well does the secondary market work when the brands just say, we want everybody to have access to our products? Like, there's a fine line between hyping things up and then, like actually just providing for the customers and what they want. So I think Kanye is in a sense, just sticking true to what he said a couple of years ago.
Yeah, agree. And Tiffany, coming from the brand side, because I feel like you know so much more about the marketing, are you still influenced by exclusivity?
I'm much less influenced by it, I think. I get drawn to a shoe because I like it, not because it's exclusive. I'm not in the resale game, so I never have been. It's hard as an employee to be honest. But I love that they're doing this for many reasons. Like, it's a great example and kind of experiment of, if you're going to make millions and millions of pairs of shoes, like they allude to, like, fit has to be on point, right? Like, right now, there's so few of them out there that your fit can be bad, your comfort can be bad, but because they're so rare, people, A, aren't wearing them, and B, they're just up on a shelf, so people want them for their value. But when you talk about making millions, and this is all, I never worked in Nike marketing or anything like that. This is just from my perspective. But if you're making millions, you better be on dial. You better be on point, because you will find out fast if it's not actually a shoe that's wearable. And I've never tried these, so I don't know firsthand, but it'll be a cool experiment learning how people really like them and if they really will wear them every day, all day, because that's kind of what you're asking when you're going to sell millions and millions of pairs. Right.
Exactly. And if I'm going to be honest, I think it's a bad idea. I don't think that they should. This kind of alludes to what both of you were saying. The reason people want Yeezys is because they can't have Yeezys. If everyone's going to get Yeezys, no one's going to want Yeezys, and the value is going to plummet for those shoes. Like, even right now, with so many being on the aftermarket, that the prices for them, the resale used to be in the thousands of dollars, and now that's dropping to the hundreds of dollars, where you may barely make a small bit of profit if you get pairs. And I think that goes to show, like, all of the shoes that are coming into market. And I really would hope that Adidas would take a note from what's happening with the Jordan retros, how, like, they were super exclusive for a while and no one could get them, and the hype behind them was crazy. But once they started making more and more people were able to get their hands on them, the hype behind them and that resale market for them really kind of just died out, and it turned to more of the people that really just have a genuine love for Jordan brand. And I get both sides of that. If you're a fanatic of Jordan and you just love Jordan brand, like, you're cool with that. But for pop culture's sake and for the cultural significance of it, I think that pushing out tons and tons of them and making them available to everyone is a bit of a drawback. It's a negative in my mind.
I I tend to disagree a little bit, and the reason why is because one, they mentioned that it's going to be the cream white or whatever the colorway is just like a basic white shoe, right? If you look at like sales for like Foot Locker or Finish Line or probably even Nike and Adidas, all the way across the board in footwear, I would assume, but I can speak to Finish Line, obviously. A majority of the shoes that are sold are not sold to sneakerheads, right? Like sneakerheads think that they're the most important because they spend $220 on a Yeezy. But the reality is that like Jordans, for instance, a Retro 3, a Retro 4, those shoes draw in a certain customer, but they also just spread the desire to have Jordans to the average customer that's never going to spend more than $70-$80, maybe $100 on a pair of shoes. And I mean, when was the last time a Jordan Retro was $100 in the store? It's been a long time since that happened. So I think with this, it would be more comparable to like, I think what Kanye sees is like an iconic shoe like a Stan Smith, a Superstar, an Air Max 1. These are shoes that there are millions of them in the market at any given moment. There's not a specific, there's not all of them are selling on the secondary market, but I would say that like for the most part, you can find a specialized version, a collaboration or whatever of, those core shoes, Air Force Ones, Air Max 1s, Jordan 1s. On the Adidas side, it's the Stan Smiths, the Superstars, and I would even say even up to like NMDs and Ultra Boosts now, where there's just a massive amount of these shoes out there, and they're very specific versions that people, kind of hype up and actually hold their value over time. Where like if you look back at like, the original Ultra Boost from, a few years back, just the regular black shoe is like the common shoe. Like the average person buys either a white shoe, a black shoe, or a white and navy, or a white and black. Like those are the four kind of like, guaranteed sales for the general public buying sneakers. But to me, this just is a way for them to kind of test the market and see how much people are going to actually want to buy these. But they'll still have, there'll still be some pairs that are limited to a few thousand or less. And there'll always be the friends and family. There'll always be, the hype around whatever gets tossed around their Instagram accounts or gets seen with him on stage and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think I disagree with you too, Jacques, respectfully. I think if you look at the top sellers of last year, what was it? It was the Tejun, the Nike. Is it Tejun?
I've been calling it the Tanjun, but I don't know if that's right.
Sounds better. We'll go with that. Tanjun, the Chuck Taylor All-Star Low, which is like a $25, $28 shoe. The Tanjun's not very expensive either. And then the Huarache. And those are all lower price point shoes, so they don't talk about how many were sold. But when I think of this Yeezy going wide with that many pairs, like what's the price point? And how's that going to be impacted? Because price point plays a lot into how many pairs you can sell.
Okay. All right. I might take the L on this one. I'm just saying. I'm concerned for the hype beast. My concern is for the hype beast, I guess.
I think it's going to be really interesting, and I am kind of excited to see it happen because it's one of those things where, we've Jordans have kind of ebbed and flowed in and out of this, right? Like if there's too many in the market, you're complaining. I mean, if you're complaining because there's too many. If it's easy to get the shoes like it has been the last 18 months. People complain that they're not limited enough. Then they start making limited stuff and it's hard to get, and then they complain about the app because the app doesn't work. They complain that the stores don't have them. Like you can't really make the customers happy, but if you were going to take, let's say 10 or 20 colorways and say this one colorway or these two colorways are going to get millions each while the rest of these are going to be super limited, I don't think that really hurts anything, but I'm excited to see how kind of, like you said, the hype beasts react to it, how the sneaker community kind of reacts to it. If you'll see like those, popular Instagram accounts with people wearing these like, mass produced shoes. But I think there's one other thing that's kind of interesting, kind of to Tiffany's point about the, keeping things dialed in with the quality of the shoe is it's going to be a lot harder to, if there's 1 million of those shoes in the market, there's going to be variations between those productions. There's just no way you're going to stop that. But that also means that a lot of the fakes that are out there, you're not going to be able to tell the difference between the real and the fakes. Like the little variations, like you see the details that some of these people go through to tell a real and a fake shoe, and if they're producing in the millions, I just don't see that being very helpful for people that are actually trying to keep track of what's real and what's not.
All right, we'll see. We'll table that one for 2018. I think it was 2018, 2019 when that's supposed to happen.
It's 2019.
2019. So we'll bring that back when outside the box episode number, probably, what is that, 52 weeks away? So episode 52. We'll make sure we bring that back. Somebody put that in the calendar. Set up a reminder. All right, real quick, just some quick headlines that I saw today that I thought you guys would find interesting because I found them interesting. First one, starting with the NBA. I read this from a guy named Tiffany Beers. He's an NBA analyst. And did you guys know that dating back to 1991, the NBA Finals has featured either Michael Jordan, Hakeem Olajuwon, Shaquille O'Neal, Tim Duncan, Kobe Bryant, or LeBron James? So for the last, how many years is that? 91, 27 years. There's been one of those 6 players in the NBA Finals every single time. That is an amazing, amazing thing to me, at least to me.
I don't even.
Yeah.
No one cares? Okay, cool. I'll say no one cares. All right, fine. No, it's good. I thought it was important.
I mean, I was just trying to think. It's kind of crazy because there's two sides to it. There's like, wow, those 6 players are incredible athletes. And Hall of Fame, top 6 players of all time, however you want to word that. But also, I feel so sorry for like the small markets. Like being from Sacramento, like the Kings have no chance to compete when it's always those same people.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of crazy.
It's amazing, right? That like they're all involved, but it tells you that the league's maybe not as. It's a little lopsided on some level, right? Like just like the Cavs and Warriors potentially, wait, who won last night?
Yeah, Warriors. So
the Warriors
This will be 4 years straight.
Yeah, I'm not down with that. Let's mix it up. Let's change some teams around. Like we need some more teams involved. Like it's getting boring. Why don't we just get rid of all the other NBA teams and just let those 2 play? Like, come on.
Yeah.
I could take that. But to be fair though, it doesn't say that they won. It just says that they were in the finals. So it's not that their teams won. It's just that they were actually in the NBA finals. So that's, I mean, obviously with LeBron in there, that's obvious because he's only won. How many LeBron won? 2.
He's won 3.
3.
Yeah, two.
So 3.
1 with Cleveland. But he's been in 8 in a row. So.
Yeah, but he's been in 8 in a row. So 5 of those he did not come back happy. Let's just say happy. All right. Next headline was there is talk about supersonic air travel, which would get us from Shanghai to Los Angeles in 5 hours, 5 to 6 hours. They're saying, and to Sydney in 6 hours and 45 minutes, which I think is amazing. When I was a kid, I remember hearing about the Concorde.
Yep, me too.
I obviously couldn't afford to fly on it because, according to this article, the tickets were $11,000 to $15,000 a piece. So my parents wouldn't opt for that. They figure I didn't need it. But I just find that amazing. I think technology is moving at a place where this is actually could be something pretty cool. I think that'd be pretty cool to be able to fly to China and back in a day basically, as opposed to 2 days that it takes now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I love it, man. The amount of times I've traveled around the world, I would love shorter flights. Now, the big question for me is, what does it do to your jet lag? Like, jet lag, as I've gotten older, has been a bigger and bigger problem. Like, if the flights are shorter, does it change anything?
Oh, that would be nice. That would be nice if you don't feel it as much. Imagine being able to go to China. Say, like, you have to go check in on production at a manufacturing facility. Like, you leave 5 hours, you're there. That's like going to New York.
Yeah.
Just flying from LA to New York. You could literally go check out what you're doing and be back the next day and not have to worry about spending, that 12 to 14 hour flight that it is to get down there. So I think just from a production standpoint, like I think businesses obviously would be more apt to pay for something like this because the article says that they're going to cost around $5,000 for a round trip. But that's still not terrible. That's a business class ticket for a regular flight.
Yeah, and you don't need to pay for business anymore because if it's 5 hours, anyone can survive 5 hours in economy. It's not a big deal.
Right, exactly.
I wonder what that's going to do to, like, you know, the hotel industry especially in manufacturing cities, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How about this one?
Yeah.
What about commuting, right? Like when I worked at Tesla, I flew from Portland to Reno every week. Now you could fly from Portland to China and work every week. Like at that short of a flight, like it changes what commuting means.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, wow.
That would be incredible. Imagine that. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
That totally changes the game. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's only, $10,000, but, hey. Some people have that kind of money. $10,000 a week. I got it.
Maybe when it starts, maybe wait till it's a year old.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. When this podcast takes off, I want us to be able to go to China and do a show from China. Like it's only 5 hours, guys. All right. And then the last article in this one, I don't even know how to explain this, but there's a luxury brand selling a shirt, and the shirt is a T-shirt with a long sleeve shirt, a button-up long sleeve shirt sewn to the front, or should I attached, sewn, hot pressed, I don't know, but it's on the front of the shirt. So there's a long sleeve button-up shirt hanging off the front of a T-shirt, and I'm gonna. I know it sounds amazing first, but I kind of want you guys to guess the price. Because it almost made me throw my computer. So, so Nick, just take a guess at what this cost.
I have no idea where to even start, but I'm going to assume that since we're coming from $5,000 flights, this is going to be in the $1,000 range.
Okay, Tiffany?
Well, you have to remember, it's 2 shirts, right? So it's like BOGO, but I'm guessing it's like a, I don't know, $2,000 BOGO deal or something.
Oh, I love that. Well, not to disappoint either of you, but it is a $1,300 T-shirt / shirt combo. So I don't even want to talk about it anymore because I don't want someone to buy it. Because it's
Did they show pictures of it being modeled or anything? I mean, like, how are people wearing this?
They didn't show it. They just showed a picture of the shirt. It is like a blue, and then the long sleeve shirt is a slightly lighter blue, but it's like the what's that paper? The drawing paper with the lines on it with the grids.
Paper?
What's that called?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, how about that? The drawing paper with the grids, the one with the lines, and you can measure things. Like it has a line. It's
boxes.
A grid on the
Boxes.
paper. That one. Yeah, the boxes, the one with the boxes. You can play tic-tac-toe really easily on it. Yeah, so it's a shirt with like a grid all across the whole shirt, and it's literally buttoned up. Like, but it's like the sexy old man buttoned up, where like the top button's unbuttoned and shows a little chest hair. Yeah, it's really, it's taking things to another
There's
level.
There's our podcast.
All right,
Yeah.
that's the outside. That is outside the box. I will give it that. And then the final story, the final topic today that I want to talk to you guys about is Nike ACG. Tiffany, you kind of brought this one up, and I've always kind of had a love relationship for the ACG, just for everything that it represented. And it seems like Nike's bringing it back and doing some cool stuff with it. But you said you saw some headlines and some news about it today.
I just saw that I think some pairs are dropping this week, and I thought they looked interesting. The Dog Mountain, I believe, is what it's called, is going to be dropping this week on Friday, 7 a.m.
Yes. There's 2 colorways. Yep. So I'm all for this light green one, or neon green, or whatever that color is called. I think that looks really nice. ACG line has been taking an interesting path back to the limelight. I feel like before it was just like these really ruggedized shoes, but now it seems to be taking more of a luxury, not luxury. Is luxury the right word I'm talking about, Nick? What's
kind of just like lifestyle. It's definitely less aggressive in the designs and more, I think, I don't know how you would describe it, but it definitely seems more urban rather than, like outdoor. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good way to put it. It seems more urban than outdoor.
Yeah, I think there's like, there's a few of them that look like, think of like if, someone like John Elliott was behind it, where it's like, okay, like we took the hoodie and we kind of just flipped it a little bit and we made it premium and we added some zippers and, we kind of did the same thing with denim and like, he takes something that's kind of just a staple, but I feel like Nike's doing the same thing where they're like, okay, this is what ACG is for us. Here's like just a few tweaks, a little bit better material, and re-release it, and it becomes something where it's like, kind of has a little bit of a hype behind it. I mean, I think it's cool to see. Like, I have always been a fan of the ACG line, and I think there's plenty of silhouettes and plenty of styles and plenty of elements that you can take and move from one to the other and kind of make some really cool shoes out of.
Yeah, agreed. I feel kind of like they're taking it's almost like a Madberry Club approach to the ACG line, which is it's very interesting. It's an interesting approach. But I agree, Tiffany. I think they look really great, and I probably should add a little more ACG love into my collection. Not that I need to buy any more shoes.
So the thing though that I liked about ACG was it was always rugged and functional based, right? Like, I'm an engineer, function comes number one for me. And the black model, the ACG Dog Mountain, the black colorway, totally functional. But that mint green one, I mean, you're not going to wear that outside in the mud and stuff. It's going to be trash. It's going to look horrible. And like, that's something that I've always respected from ACG is like they keep unless it's a protected material, then it would stay nice, but they always make sure the materials will function for the activity they're intended for.
That's true, and I'll be honest. I'm not climbing or hiking any mountains. I'll go running, but I'm not climbing or trailing or doing anything that involves mountains, really. Which is why I said the mint green colorway. Oh man. Anyway, good episode. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Definitely appreciate you guys. I am Jacques Slade. This is the Outside the Box podcast. You can find me at Cousteau, which is Kustoo. Yes, I know it's spelled weird, but I thought it was cool when I was in high school, and so I'm keeping it that way. But I could not do this podcast by myself. As you guys know, I have two incredible people here with me. So Nick, let them know where they can find you.
You can find me at Nick Engvall, NickEngvall on all platforms, and at Sneaker History across the web too. And most importantly, Tiffany, let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me at on Instagram and YouTube at Tiffany Beers, just Tiffany, B as in boy, EERS.
See, Tiffany keeps playing it so short. Like, oh yeah, just look for me, Tiffany Beers. That's all. I'm just Tiffany Beers.
All right.
Okay, we're gonna work on this outro. We're gonna work on Tiffany's outro.
I'll come up with something better next time.
Okay. All right, guys. Thank you for listening. We definitely appreciate you. Make sure you like, favorite, subscribe, share the podcast, all of that good stuff. Let people know what you're listening to, and let people know that you think that we are the bee's knees, because that's what something old, or someone old like me would say. All right, guys. We'll see you soon. Talk to you next week. Peace.